Yeah. So we could look at, and I think we could, instead of looking at count, we could look at sum. Sum would tell us how many bad buys were in each of those categories. So Ryan, if you look at go and it's very similar, but the numbers change a lot, right? Like, because we only have about 12% on average are bad buys, the numbers have been cut kind of on average by 12%. But it's still a similar thing here. But you might look at this, and it is a relatively compelling story. That it turns out that around the 90,000 mile mark, there ends up being a lot of maintenance you're supposed to do on a car. Yeah. You're often supposed to replace the water pump and the timing belt. That's fairly expensive. Maybe that is what Carvana thinks is a bad buy. And therefore, we're seeing a bad buy spike here. But once you've gotten past this, like any car that makes it through the bad buy filter ends up being good. It's a Camry, and it'll run forever, right? That's a story that might make sense if you look at this data without a critical eye. But what this is really telling us is that we bought a whole lot more cars in the 70 to 80,000 mile range, right? So to Caroline's point, maybe we haven't bought so many cars on either side, or at least on the far end here, on the far right. Let's go back to average, and let's see if we can get a sense of this plot, and then some sense for how statistically significant we think these values might be. We've already done the color by count thing, so we can do that again. We can go down to this training CSV count and drag it up to color. And this is really combining what Mark took us to what we're seeing right now, right? The color is telling us a count, light being low count, dark blue being high count. And it suggests that we really know a lot about what's happening here, but on either end it's a little bit less clear. So can you hover over some of these bars down here? Two. We bought 2 cars under 5,000 miles, right? We bought less than 10 cars in all of these bins up until the 20,000 mile bin. So while it does seem like there may be some kind of bathtub curve relationship here, it's hard for us to be really confident in that relationship because we don't have a lot of data for one side, right? This is, again, looking at the data in multiple ways. We can, back to our speed ventures case, we can plot the data and something that seems reasonable to us, tell ourselves our own story, but unless we've cut it a bunch of different ways, that story may not end up being very, very robust. So our goal here is to look at the data in as many different ways so that we can start to gain an overall picture. Okay, what other plots should we do?
May I ask a quick question?
Of course, Rosalind.
Stick with the question, how to determine bad buys rather than looking at the good buy data.
Wait, why are we looking at bad buys versus good buys? Well, in this case, it won't matter because one is one minus the other, right? So if we see this, I can, in my head, transform the data exactly. If we had multiple classes, so maybe there were like bad buys, okay buys, great buys, or something, then we'd start to have to have serious conversations about what particular class are we thinking about, what one are we targeting.
Okay, so the binary is 1 minus.
Exactly. And we'll get into this conversation around multi-class actually in the February, the first case we're doing in the February weekend. Okay. All right, so let's open up a new tab. We've got time and location here as an interesting one. So drag vehicle state. VNST is vehicle state. Well, actually, first, before we do that, sorry, get rid of that for just a second. Go to VN state into the drop-down menu. And there is geographic role. And this is state province. And so now you can put that on columns. And is bad buy on rows. And then if you go over to the show me up in the top right, there you can click on, there's a little map. the symbol maps, the one just to the left, I think. Now try that one. The one to the right. There we go. That's a little better. Okay. And now we still got the sum is bad by, but now it's moved over to our marks. So go and change that the sum under the marks over here to averages to give us a little better sense here. Okay. So so there was a proposal that location mattered. Does it look like, and here dark blue means more bad buys, light blue means less bad buys as a percent. Don't buy from Arkansas. I've driven through Arkansas, that checks out. Okay, don't buy from Arkansas. Where else?
Pennsylvania, Nevada,
Okay.
Iowa.
Okay.
Can't trust those people. Wait, I know what I need to do. I need to take the count and move it to color.
Can't quite move count to color this time. We're already using color for something else. Harlan?
Well, I was thinking about adding warranty costs to this.
Okay. In what way would you like to visualize warranty costs? And then we can figure out if Tableau will let us.
Well, it kind of goes on Dennis's point about like geographical areas affecting cars in different ways, environmental factors. So cars in, say, Louisiana or Texas or even Florida being more at risk to like, hurricane damage.
I see. Okay.
So the cost of warranty, I think, should be high.
So that is so warranty cost. So we can drag that. Maybe we can drag that to size. Let's see what happens if we drag that to size. And now we're seeing this with a little more dimension, though it's a little hard to see. The color should be the same, though we've lost the color, the ability to see color in a lot of places. And the size means that the average warranty cost for a vehicle has gone up there. But we're doing sum of warranty costs, so we need to go and we need to change that to average as well. Again, sum is never the right thing. And it turns out there doesn't seem to be much in the way of variation for average warranty costs across these states. It's a good idea, but there's just not the variation that we need with this level of aggregation. Maybe other levels of aggregation. Wesley?
I was just wondering, when like back to this map, are we normalizing for how many cars are actually bought per state?
So we're looking at percentages of each state, right?
Okay,
so
we are, okay.
Yeah, we are. But we don't really know how many cars were bought in each state. So let's go down to our count variable, and we can't drag it to color this time, but we can drag it to size like we just did, right? And so, yeah, we bought 70 cars from Arkansas, right? So maybe that's accurate. Maybe we got unlucky. You know, it's hard to really say things definitively. Pennsylvania was a state that looked bad, but we also haven't bought too many from Pennsylvania. So there's you know, we have to be a little careful with how we're interpreting this map. Now let's give it a count because it's kind of making it hard to see the color. You can also just drag it away and it goes away. That's a little bit of a shortcut. So one of the things that we had talked about looking at was time.